There are moments that try the human soul so violently and so perplexing that if the truth were told, all of us have had moments that we wanted to throw up our hands and walk away. Particularly painful is discouragement in the life of the believer, because as we travel from season to season, it is not just the perils that we face, but it is seeing the wicked go forward while the righteous are held back. Discouragement can creep in secretly, hide behind clothes, makeup, hairdos. Discouragement is so bold that it will even hide behind a smile. It will always ride to work with you. And if it doesn't catch a ride going to work, it'll catch a ride on the way back home. Discouragement will go into a tent. It will walk right into a Section 8 neighborhood. But don't think that it stops. Discouragement will walk right into a middle-class house. It won't just stop there. It'll go in a mansion and sit on the side of a jacuzzi and tell you life is not worth living. If you listen at discouragement, it will cause you to make bad decisions. It will cause you to think that life is not worth living. And secretly, behind the facade of a smile and a good morning and a praise the Lord and a how are you, you will wonder if you're ever going to get out of what you're into.
One of the things that we know about life is that it is always changing. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes you're happy, and sometimes you're sad. Now that's that thing called life. And when we begin to understand and know that, accepting that reality, that we will never ever have things just on an even keel all the time, that you're gonna have some ups and you're gonna have some downs. But during those down moments, that's where the growth takes place. That's where the work is. Anybody can feel good when they have their health, their bills are paid, they have happy relationships, the children are acting normal, business is successful. Anybody can be positive then. Anybody can have faith under those kinds of circumstances. See, but the real challenge of growth, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, comes when you get knocked down. Adversity introduces a man to himself or a woman. How you handle it, that's where the growth takes place.
The biggest poison in us is regret.
Bad decisions, hasty decisions, too fast, and affects the next 20 years of your life because you made the wrong decision. What makes us make these fast decisions? Fear?
Let the fear of regret fuel you to take action today, now.
Hurt people will go above and beyond to hurt people. Insecure people will go out of their way to create insecurities. Dysfunctional people will take a peaceful, happy, and beautiful situation and figure out a way to create dysfunction where there is none.
What we should do when somebody does us wrong, forgive them and let it drop. Leave it and let it go.
Be the best. Lifelong personal development requires tremendous dedication, discipline, and willpower. It is often the case that we know what we need to do, but we lack the courage to take the risks. Instead, we make excuses for inaction.
When people can walk away from you, let them walk. When people can walk away from you, let them walk.
The great thing about excuses is that no matter what happens, excuses are always there waiting to be used. But the downside of excuses is that nobody really believes them. If you make excuses, they're going to know it and they're going to think less of you. But if you refuse to rely on excuses, people are going to know that too, and they'll admire you for it.
Maybe somebody's talking about you, trying to make you look bad. You could easily be upset, offended, try to pay them back. Why don't you try a different approach? Drop it, leave it, and let it go.
You need large amounts of self-discipline to deal courageously with all the fear-inducing events of your life. Courage is rightly considered the foremost of the virtues, for upon it all others depend. Often, fear is necessary to preserve life, prevent injury, and guard against financial mistakes.
I don't want you to try to talk another person into staying with you, loving you, calling you, caring about you, coming to see you, staying attached to you. I mean, hang up the phone. When people can walk away from you, let them walk.
If you ask people what they regret, especially as they get older, what they generally report is things not done. So they don't regret so much mistakes they've made, although of course people obviously regret mistakes they've made as well. So they don't exactly regret sins of commission, right? Errors that they've actively made. They torment themselves for opportunities that had presented themselves that they did not, let's say, exploit or engage in.
The regret we feel for things that we've done, though intense, only lasts a short period of time. But the regret that we feel for things that we missed out on, that can extend throughout a lifetime. Because most of us are scared, and we choose to lead an easy life. And by doing so, we start to rack up those regrets. But there is a solution. You have to be willing to be bold.
You have a great life in front of you, but your great life is in front of you. It's not behind you. What you did back there ain't got nothing to do with what God got for you. What you did back there was learn the lessons to get you to where you are at this particular moment right here.
Bad decisions, hasty decisions, too fast, and affects the next 20 years of your life because you made the wrong decision. If you'd have just waited, got all your information together, settled yourself, you'd have been better. What makes us make these fast decisions? Fear?
It takes discipline to face your fears so you can conquer them. And that's what discipline is. Discipline means taking the hard road, the uphill road, to do what's right. And regret, in and of itself, it's worthless. So learn and move on.
The ability to learn to say no and not to feel guilty about it, to me, is about the greatest success I have achieved. It's all a part of a process for growing for me. To me, to have the kind of internal strength and internal courage it takes to say, no, I will not let you treat me this way, is what success is all about. I will not be treated this way. I demand only the best for myself.
As you might imagine, I don't think we should spend a lot of time regretting the choices we've made in the past. To spend time brooding over how things went, that's an illusion. What you're doing is suffering pointlessly in the present under the shadow of certain memories. You're telling yourself a story about something that might have been over and over again. How long do you want to do that for?
And sometimes life is going to knock you down. But because you have been knocked down don't mean that you are finished. No. You got some reasons. It might be your own sense of pride and determination in the kind of life that you want to create.
There are people in their 30s and 40s who are still acting like adolescents. And there are even people in their 40s and 50s who are still acting like babies as far as their attitude toward responsibility is concerned. But the large number of people who shirk responsibility can also provide opportunities for you if you are determined to be different. If you decide to be one of the few who embraces responsibility, you can lead, and you will deserve to lead. Churchill said responsibility is the price of greatness. And in my opinion, it's really a rather small price to pay. It means, first of all, that you accept the consequences of your actions. Responsibility means you look to yourself as the source of everything that happens to you. It means that you assume command, regardless of the hardships you may have undergone early in life, or the dozens of people who may have failed to understand you. I'm saying that regardless of the presence of those negative influences in your life, the best thing you can do, the strongest thing, the most empowering thing, and ultimately the wisest thing, is to accept responsibility for your own destiny, plain and simple.
The
if you have enough reasons, you can do the most incredible things. Here's what you might be lacking: a long enough list of reasons. Reasons that drive you, reasons that get you up a little extra early, reasons that keep you up a little extra late. That's what makes the difference.
You should always make decisions with your heart and soul. You can use your brain for math, but when it comes to the actual feel of the decision, you always want to go inward and check it against your heart and soul. Here's the simple test. Does the decision that you're about to make expand you, expand your future, or expand the possibilities of your life? If the answer is yes, then the decision is yes, no matter how terrifying it is.
Other than death, all failure is psychological. Other than death, all failure is psychological. Does not mean that you won't lose some battles, because you will. We all will. But it does mean that as long as you don't surrender, as long as you don't quit, then you haven't failed.
Here are some action exercises that you can do. Make a decision today to invest in yourself and getting better, as if your future depends on it, because it does. Identify the most important skills you have that determine the quality and quantity of results you get at your work, and make a plan to get better in each one. Set excellent performance in your work as a goal, and then determine exactly what you will need to do every day to join the top 20% or better in your field.
I fought a good fight. I fought for my kids, and I fought for what was right, and I fought for my good health, and I fought for a good career that would bless my family. I fought a good fight. The encroachment. Opposites are in conflict, and we're in the middle. And if you want something valuable, you got to fight for it.
You have comeback power when something happens to you. Don't buy into what has happened to you. Buy into, I'm getting up out of here. I'm going to change this situation. This does not work for me, and I don't have the luxury of being depressed. I need to clear my head.
Yes, we can see avoidance of responsibility all the time in both our personal and professional lives. We can see that most people aren't as successful as they wish they were. Do you see there's a connection between these two very common phenomena? I hope you'll understand that it's in your best interests to take responsibility for everything you do. But that's only the beginning. I'm also going to suggest that many times it's even best to accept responsibility for the mistakes of others, especially when you're in a managerial or leadership role.
What do you do when you tried and failed and you want to quit and you want to give up? Sometimes you can be blessed and be unhappy, because even though things are going right, they're not going according to what you had believed and expected, and you know that something is missing out of your life.
You got to clear your head so that the decision that you make represents the best in you. Be still and know that you're going to get through this. You're going to get through this. You got to assure yourself. You have to encourage yourself. You have to clear your mind.
The great thing about excuses, and the really dangerous thing about them, is that no matter what happens, excuses are always there waiting to be used. But the downside of excuses, even good ones, is that nobody really believes them. If you make excuses, they're going to know it, and they're going to think less of you. But if you refuse to rely on excuses, people are going to know that too, and they'll admire you for it. This is especially true in business. One of the classic examples happened about 15 years ago. A widely advertised healthcare product from a leading manufacturer was shown to be unsafe, and the company responded by pulling every single box off the shelves at a cost of millions of dollars. Was the company destroyed? Hardly. If they had done anything else, there would have been a tremendous loss of confidence. Instead, there was honest acceptance of responsibility for a mistake. Contrast this with what happened recently to a leading manufacturer of computer chips. When a new microprocessor didn't perform up to expectations, the company made excuses. It was a minor problem. something that would crop up once in a lifetime, and so forth. Were these excuses valid? Maybe, maybe not. But it doesn't really matter, does it? So many people use excuses, but nobody really buys them.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Your story doesn't end in the night. The night is temporary. Don't get discouraged. It's just a night season. It's not permanent. It's not how your story ends. You may not see anything happening. Keep moving forward in faith. Keep believing. It's just a matter of time before the morning breaks forth.
That accepting responsibility is one of the highest forms of human maturity. To put yourself on the line, a willingness to be accountable, is really the defining characteristic of adulthood. Anyone who has raised children knows how true this is. Just look at a baby during the first few years of life. Every facial expression, every tentative word has one message for the baby's parents. I am totally dependent on you. I can't be held responsible for the consequences. I can't do anything for myself even if I try. After all, I'm just a baby. 10 or 12 years later, of course, as the boy or girl enters adolescence, this message to the parents will be very different. It will sound something like this: I want to be totally independent. Why don't you just leave me alone? I don't want to do anything but think about myself. I certainly don't want to accept any responsibility. It's only when we're at last grown up that the first two messages, I'm totally independent of you and I'm totally dependent on you, finally turn into you can depend on me, which is the truly adult outlook.
The night seasons are not the end. The bad breaks, the disappointments, that's simply another step on the way to your destiny.
But let me tell you what ought to cause great joy to come to your life is if you'd stop comparing yourself to other people and you would just remember where you came from and remember where you started. You're doing more. You're seeing more. You're achieving more. But if you start comparing yourself with someone else, you can get discouraged because they're doing more maybe than you're doing.
Sooner or later, all of us face situations in which we must decide whether to accept responsibility for a problem or look for ways to avoid responsibility. Let's look at the various options and decisions that are now open to you. First, there's the role played by intention. In other words, was the outcome of your action what you intended it to be? And if it was not, should you still accept responsibility for that outcome? This is a very serious issue in the way we think about responsibility. In many areas of criminal law, for instance, the intention to commit a crime must be present in order for the accused to be held criminally responsible. This intention is something quite different from mere negligence. But we don't have to enter a courtroom to see the important role intention plays in accepting responsibility ourselves or assigning it to others. Don't you remember when you were a kid and you left the screen door open so that the cat ran outside and was lost all afternoon? What did you say to avoid responsibility? You said, it was an accident. You said, I didn't mean to do that. As I pointed out earlier, there are lots of people who still use these childlike rationalizations well into their middle age. But if and when you decide you want to be an adult, you begin to see the whole question of intention as nothing more than another opportunity for excuse making, and you should refuse to participate in it.
If you get beat, unless you're dead, you are not defeated, and you have not
Credit
failed.
goes to
What
our
you've done is
awesome
you've
patrons who
learned.
make
You've gained
videos like this one
experience,
possible.
and you're still
Consider
alive.
joining them
So
to
get
support
up
our
and
work.
go get after it.
You can also support us by subscribing to our channel and clicking the bell button to get notified when our new videos are released. And as always, thank you for watching.
It's not what you do for a living. It ain't how much you make. It ain't none of that. It's simply how you think. If you change your thought, you change everything. You change your attitude, you change your altitude. It's all that. It's the law of attraction. Your attitude is everything. That's what money ain't everything, but it's very helpful. It ain't everything, but it's a lot.
A seed is a tree, but it must become the tree. And that's the way you are right now. You are a great woman, an awesome man, but you must become. It is my passion, my hope, my anger that no human being die until they are manifested. Let's meet you before you go. Let the world see who you really are before you leave us. Show us yourself. Show yourself.
What is your ultimate destiny and your goals? God will never give you something somebody else is supposed to have. So all while you're consumed and focused on somebody else's career, how much they got in their account, their moves, their blessings, and their opportunities, your own career, your own focus, your own path is being further dumped in the back seat. God didn't bring you in this world to be focused on what everybody else is doing.
How we feel plays such a major part in our future. First, it's what we know, so we can make wise decisions about danger and opportunity. But second is how we feel. First, it's how you feel about the past. You need a healthy attitude about the past so that you use it, not live in it, but use it. Not carry it like a burden. But let the wise lessons you learned from the past now serve as fuel to furnish the future. Next, a good attitude about the future. You got to set your goals. We look back for experience, but we look forward for inspiration. We must be instructed and inspired. No better inspiration than to set your goals. I started this process when I was 25. Literally rocked my world, changed my life. I had no idea it was so simple. Here's how simple it is. Decide what you want, write it all down. Make a list of the people you want to meet. Make a list of the books you want to read. Make a list of the classes you want to take. Make a list of the skills you want to learn. Make a list of the cities you want to visit. Make a list of the investments you want to have. Just make these lists. Here's the next key now. Start checking them off. Put a lot of little things on some list so you can start checking off something right away. That's part of the fun. Here's what's next. If you check off something major, celebrate, because that inspires you to make a longer list of goals. And put everything on your list, little things, insignificant to someone else, important to you. I put a little revenge on my first list. My mentor said it was healthy. Some of the people who said I couldn't succeed, kid from the farms of Idaho, they went on my list. Couldn't wait to get my new car, drive it up on their lawn. Say, oh, pardon me, here's the money to have it fixed. Just a little satisfaction.
You have a choice. Your mind has to listen to you. Part of your will is to bring your mind into order. Now, the reason why most people are ineffective in life and actually fail at life is because they've never learned how to fight the battle of the mind.
Happiness is both a grasp of the obvious as well as an awe of the mysterious. But for most people around us, happiness seems to be either something left behind or something yet to be discovered. Like all the good things in life, happiness is elusive by nature, but not impossible to capture. If there is a magic word that stands out above all the rest, this is the one: discipline.
A lack of self-discipline is a lack of knowing what you want in life. And when you don't know what you want, you won't have any self-discipline power to get there. Self-discipline makes consistency possible, and consistency compounds. It always has, and it always will.
In difficult times, it's tempting to get sour. Joel, I was doing the right thing and had this bad break. This setback came out of nowhere. Put your foot down and say, I refuse to go through life with a bad attitude. I am not going to let what happened to me, who did me wrong, what I didn't get, keep me from becoming all I was created to be. But too often, we're holding on to the hurts, disappointments, the things we don't understand. That poisons our attitude. You have to let it go. This is a new day.
There are a lot of people that don't understand the power of laughter and the power of being joyful and deliberately feeling good. Does it mean that I don't have any challenges? Yes, I do. Stuff's happened to people that I care about.
We're so tempted to run somebody else's race. We're so tempted to do it like somebody else did it, but you don't get grace for somebody else's calling. The older I get, the more and more I am convinced that people are borderline obsessed with what's next. And don't get me wrong, I think it's important that you have a vision for your life, and I think it's important that you have an idea of where you're headed, but if you're not careful, you'll get so obsessed with what's next that you'll miss out on what is right now. It doesn't take a lot of us to realize, like, if you're graduating from high school right now, everyone's going, where are you going to college? If you're in college, everyone's like, where are you going to work? I'm like, when are you going to shut up?
Set your goals. Decide what you want. Write it down. Start checking them off. It's powerful stuff. Next, it's how you feel about everybody. If you want to be a leader, true leader, entrepreneur of the highest order, well-respected, unique in your field, here's number one, how you feel about everybody. And this is philosophical as well. You cannot succeed by yourself. So a unique sense of appreciation of everybody goes with the territory of leadership. It takes everybody for each of us to be successful. One person doesn't make an economy. One person doesn't make a symphony orchestra. It takes everybody. For this gathering today, all of you had to be here to make this gathering. Everybody. If one of you were missing, there wouldn't be this many people here. Everybody to make something work. For the office. Whatever, the enterprise takes everybody. The gift of America is everybody who came over the last 200-300 years, bringing with them their gifts. No country has become such a depository of the gifts of the world like America has over the last 200-300 years. People coming, bringing their gifts. Gift of language, gift of learning, gift of politics, gift of government, gift of medicine, gift of healing, gift of music, gift of the work ethic. All this came in steady streams from all over the world, making us unusual because of the gifts that were brought. And to understand that and appreciate it now gives you open access to the market that's available to make your fortune. Now what I love to do is go back where these gifts came from. Not long ago I was in Rome, had 1,000 people in my class. Someone suggested, Jim Rohn loves the music of Andrea Bocelli, the blind opera singer from Italy. So when they introduced me, I walked to the podium and all 1,000 of these Italians stood up and sang for me one of Andrea Bocelli's songs. In true Italian style. I described it to my grandchildren later. I said, here was the scene, a choir of 1,000 and an audience of 1. And that was me. I thought, here's where some of these gifts came. The gift of poetry. Gifts. So learn to appreciate the gifts. Now the last attitude is how you feel about yourself. Nothing more powerful than self-esteem, which creates self-confidence. The greatest steps towards success come from self-confidence, and that comes from self-esteem, doing what you know you should, so that at the end of the day, you have high, high self-esteem.
We have to take control of our thoughts. We have to scratch the negative ones when they come in and replace them with great ones. Now, I don't believe self-talk works all the time, but I believe saying, I am strong, I am good, I intend, I'm a good man, my intentions are pure, I make a difference in the world, I'm kind, I'm gentle, I'm generous. Beginning to repeat these thoughts to myself, and these words do generate self-confidence. I keep the promises I make to myself. I'm a man of my word.
Many of us choose an active living death. Many of us are walking dead, that we're not doing what we want to do. Many of us stay in relationships where we're dying together rather than growing and expanding and living together. We're miserable, but because we don't have the courage to see ourselves beyond that relationship that has turned toxic, we go through life living dead people.
I know it's easy to get glued to the internet, glued to social media, get glued to the TV, but if you fill your mind with constant images of negative news, and they're just saying the same thing over and over, it's going to deplete your reserves, it's going to raise your stress level.
When you decide, I have had enough, a leader is about to be born. Toleration is the graveyard of leaders. And that's why we lack leadership in the 21st century. Everybody wants to be liked. Nobody wants to rock the boat. And that's why we're not leaders, because we want everyone to agree with us.
Before you're going to have peace, you're going to have to make some decisions about some things. And the first decision you have to make is, I am unwilling to live without peace. I will not live without peace. You see, I spent way too much of my life in turmoil. And maybe 15 years ago, I made a decision that I was going to have peace and I was going to have joy and I was going to have righteousness. That I was not going to spend the rest of my life feeling guilty every time I made some little minor mistake.
I want you to honor both yourself and I want you to honor her, and I want you to just keep going. If what you actually need is to pause and to just take a break from school for a little bit so you can take care of yourself, that's very different than quitting. That's giving yourself what you need while being responsible for this dream that you better not give up on.
Begin to talk to yourself and think these thoughts. When you combine your brain and your body, you scratch the self-doubt. You lose those 4 stupid beliefs. I am my accomplishments. I am my possessions. I am what other people say I am, or I am what I look like. These are completely flawed beliefs. We scratch those. We scratch them. We understand the process of stacking self-confidence in our life. We know we are the content of our character.
It's not that easy as dropping out of law school. You've always wanted this. You've always worked for this. You've dreamt about this forever. And it's not going to leave you. That's why we say your dreams are kind of in the back of your mind. So you don't have a choice about this. So you got to take care of the fact that you're grieving, and that's like riding waves of emotion.
I'm more creative today than I would have been if I'd have had those files. I test more than I would have been, because what? That was a crutch to me. I was holding on to what I knew instead of letting go so I could grab hold of what I could become. So that's a huge word right now. Just be testing. It's going to make you the person you need to be during this time. Testing says that there's a better way, and failing says, I haven't found that way. Failing tells you that, I haven't found that way, but it also tells you I'm getting closer to find that way.
Credit goes to our awesome patrons who make videos like this one possible. Consider joining them to support our work. You can also support us by subscribing to our channel and clicking the bell button to get notified when our new videos are released. And as always, thank you for watching.
Hi, welcome back to Mind Control, where we inspire and motivate you. Hope you enjoy the video.
So review your performance, your language with your children. Just go over that and say, have I been too harsh and too strong, too stubborn? Should I learn to be easier, mix more compassion with the tough stuff I have to deal with? Yes. Prayer will help sometimes. If nothing else, dear God, help me say the right thing, not to ruin it all by poor communication. Here's the next on my list. Face your fears. I don't know what challenges you might have in going over the stuff we've been going over in terms of amending your philosophy or going back and, redoing some stuff that you might have messed up. Face all your fears. That's how you conquer them. Don't dismiss them, just face them. Say, here's what I'm afraid of. I wonder what I could do to change that. Here's the next one. Exercise your willpower to change direction. You don't have to keep doing what you've done the last 6 years if it's not yielding you the benefits you want. In the seminar I do for Jerry, my mentor helped me to review the last 6 years so I wouldn't repeat those errors the next 6. See, if you're a goose, you have no choice to do the next 6 like you did the last 6. But if you're not a goose, here's what you can do. Pick a new destination and start going that way. You say, well, I've done this for the last 2 years. I'll probably have to do it another 2. And the answer is no, not in a million years. Now, you can change one little degree at a time, or if you want to, you can revolutionize the whole thing. Who says you couldn't revolutionize the whole thing in a week's time and start a brand new direction that will most assuredly help you arrive in a brand new place a year from now, 3 years from now? No telling 5 years from now where you could arrive. Use your willpower to start the process. Just willpower to change a little or change a lot. Anybody can change. You don't have to repeat last year. Clean up the errors. Invest it now in the next year. Watch it make the difference. Here's the next one that's important. Parents have to do it. We ask our kids to do it, but we've got to do it. Admit your mistakes. Sometimes you have to admit them to others. Here's some of the best words in the English language. I'm sorry. The reason why those are good words is because it could start a whole new relationship. It could start 2 people going in a whole new direction. I'm sorry. Simple, easy. Not easy, but if you get this done, the turnaround can be dramatic. The early years can be big in payoff. And here's the big one. Admit your mistakes to yourself. You don't have to babble about them to everybody in the neighborhood. But it doesn't hurt to sit down and have a conversation with yourself and say, there's no use kidding myself. Here's where I really am. I've got pennies in my pocket and I got nothing in the bank. That's what I said after the Girl Scout left my door. I had a conversation with myself. And I said, I don't want this to happen anymore. Next, refine your goals. I don't know what ambitions you've had up until now, but this weekend would be a good time to start the process. We're going to talk about our goals workshop before our session is over this weekend. Maybe that will help stimulate you to set some higher goals, reach for some higher purpose, go for something beyond what you thought you could do. By the time this weekend's over, you might double, triple, quadruple the amount of goals, purpose, all the things you think you can accomplish. You could multiply that by 10 by the time we finish here on Sunday. Here's the next one. Believe in yourself. Yes, you got to believe in God, and you got to believe in the community, and you've got to believe in the possibilities. You've got to believe in the economy. You've got to believe that tomorrow can be better than today. But here's the big one. Believe in yourself. There isn't a skill you can't learn. There isn't a discipline you can't try. There isn't a class you couldn't take. There isn't a book you couldn't read. If it's written in some other language, you just get it translated and read it. Here's the next one. Ask for wisdom. This is communication of the highest source. Ask for wisdom. Ask for wisdom that creates answers. Ask for the wisdom that creates faith to believe things are possible. In King Solomon's day, there was the dilemma of 2 mothers who claimed the same baby. And the question was, whose baby is this? This mother says, it's mine. The other mother says, no, it's mine. Solomon said, bring me the baby. They brought him the baby, and he raised the sword. He said, I'm going to cut this baby in half and give one half to this mother and one half to this mother. And as he raised his sword, sobbingly, the real mother said, no, 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 don't cut the baby in half. Give it to her, who was not the real mother. Solomon says, now I know who's the real mother. See, that is so wise. And the moment was such drama. But Solomon, the wisest of the wise, knew what to do to settle the deal. Ask for wisdom to deal with the challenges of today and tomorrow, to deal with the challenges your family brings you. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Here's the next one, conserve your time. I must learn to do this. How much time have I got left? Not an unlimited supply. How many of these weekends can I do? Not 1,000, just a few, maybe a handful. Sometimes we get faked out. Bill Bailey says, the average person says, I got 20 more years. No, Bill says you got 20 more times. If you go fishing once a year, you've only got 20 more times to go fishing, not 20 years. That fakes you out, I got 20 years. No, 20 times. See, that brings it right down to the real stuff, 20 times. How many more seminars like this? Not 1,000, a few, just a few. So would I mumble and stumble? Would I give you less than my best when I've only got a few more to give? And the answer is no, of course not. If you're a person of some dignity and quality, you wouldn't let that happen. Next, invest your profits. We're going to talk now about this before the weekend is over on financial independence, and I'm going to give you some excellent advice. Here was one of the philosophies Mr. Schoaf gave me, along with Mary Kay. Here's what he said: profits are better than wages. Wages make you a living, profits make you a fortune. Mary Kay and I went for that. Wow. Could we start earning profits while we're making a living? The answer is yes. I went berserk. Here's one now, protect your family. These are troublesome times. Not that they haven't been troublesome times for 6,000 years. At school, troublesome times. I know a wonderful mother and a wonderful father who had 2 boys. In school, they went 2 different directions, and one became a model citizen and the other one went to jail. Wow. Protect your family as best you can from the hidden dangers, the lurking evil one. Here's the next one, live with intensity. You might as well turn it up a notch or 2 after this weekend. Why not? Invest more of you in whatever you do. Be a little stronger, be a little wiser. Step up your vitality, contribution. Put everything you've got into everything you do, and then ask for more vitality and more strength and more vigor. More heart, more soul. Next, find your place. This one now is so important. If you just work on a job, find the best place where you can serve well. And sure enough, they'll ask you to occupy a better place. And if you keep doing the job well, the guy says, well, if I had a better job, I'd really pour it on. But I got this lousy job, so I just goof off. See, that's the philosophy of disaster. So you've got a lousy job. Do the very best you can. That's your best way out. Is not to do less than you could, but to do the best you can. With that philosophy, your life can take great leaps forward. Here's a Bible phrase that says, if you work on your gifts, they will make room for you. They'll make a place for you. Here's the next one. Demand integrity from yourself. You can't demand integrity from someone else. Integrity is like loyalty. You can't demand it of someone else. You can only demand it of yourself. Be the best example of loyalty, and you'll get some loyal followers. Be the best example of integrity, and you'll have people surround you that have integrity. Lead the way. Next, welcome the disciplines. Can't give you much better advice than that, because disciplines create the reality. Disciplines build bridges, build cities. Disciplines, a well-disciplined activity creates abundance, creates uniqueness, productivity.
We'd like to thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.